Hi, this is Rachel from RightStart. Thank you so much for contacting us about lesson 71 in level B, first grade. I understand the concern. A lot of students do struggle with adding, not necessarily adding 1 or maybe even 10, but when we get to adding 1 and then 10 and then 100, all of a sudden things start to glitch. Part of the reason is this particular lesson really solidifies place value. So this is a really good opportunity to work through those frustrations. Sometimes that means, though, you step away from the lesson for a couple days and then you come back into the lesson working at it again, or doing a part of the lesson for several days in a row. Here are some strategies you can use to kind of help work through this particular worksheet. This is worksheet 25. All right, so this column is going to add 1 to each number. In this column here, we're going to add 10 to all of these numbers. And in this column here, we're going to add 100. I really like using the abacus with this to kind of help think through and visualize what we're adding. Also, a strategy that you will use, or you can use, and I've done both, is work through one full column. So we're focusing only on the ones, adding 1 to it, or focusing on one row. This obviously will really dig deep into the flexibility of when you're adding which place value. So I do like to start here, but if it becomes too difficult, I will flip and just work on adding 1s to a number and then adding 10s to these numbers and then adding 100s to those numbers. So I would start with the rows. If it becomes like really frustrating, slow it down, maybe do only 3 rows or flip it over to the column. Now let me show you how I would do this. First of all, I'm going to ask my child, what is 4 plus 1? So I'm going to have my child say, actually give me that equation. So here we're adding 1 to a number. I'm going to give them the first one. Here we have 4 plus 1. What is 4 plus 1? They should know that is 5. But if not, might want them to prove it to me. Okay, so I'm going to have them put 4 on the side 2 of the abacus, 4. If I'm adding 1 more to that, what would that answer be? That's going to be 5. So I'm going to put that on there. Now, if I'm going across to the row, I'm going to remove this. And I'm going to say we're starting with 4. What are we adding to 4 now? We're adding a 10. Where are the 10s over here? Right here. So we're going to add 1 10 to it. Now, what is our answer? We have a 10 and a 4, which is 10, 4, or 14. Again, I'm going to drop it back down to just the 4. And in this case, we're going to add 100 to that. What is 100 over here? It's right there, right? So I'm going to slide a bead up. And now we have, what is my answer? 104. Now, I will start asking questions about this. What happens to each one of these, right? I might want to pull out, like this is in the ones place. So the only time that it's going to be affected, this particular 4 is going to be affected, is when I'm adding to the ones place. Other than that, the 4 remains in the ones place. It does not change. It does not adjust. The tens place changes here, and the hundreds place changes there, but the ones place does not change. So I'm trying to pull out some of the thought for this. This is not just an overwhelming worksheet, right? So here we have 6 tens. Let's do the next line. 6 tens and then a 7. All right. Now, I might even start asking questions like, okay, we're adding 1 to a number. 1 is in which place value? Which line? Is it ones, tens, hundreds, or thousands? It should be in the ones. Which is the ones place here? The 6, the 7, and hopefully they'll say the 7. And so my next question is, so which place value is this 1 really going to affect? And that will be this particular place value, which will take it to 68. Now, if they need to see it, or if I want them to demonstrate that, I will have them show 1 added to the ones place. 68 is my answer. I will drop that bead back down because I'm starting again at 67. 67. Now I'm adding 10 to the 10, or 1 bead to the tens place. I'm adding to the tens place. I might even again ask them, are either one of these numbers in the tens place? Hopefully they can identify that the 6 is in the tens place. If not, we need to be working on that a bit. But if they do know that it's in the tens place, then I'm going to say, okay, so is the 7 going to be affected at all? There's a 0 in the ones place, so the 7 is not going to be affected. We can go ahead and write that down. What number is going to be affected is the 610. We're going to add 10 to the 610, which is 710. So I'm going to add that there. Okay, again, when I'm done with that example, I'm going to put back down to 67 because I'm going to add this, or I'm going to work on this column. So here we have 100. We're adding 100 to this. Either one of these numbers are either one of these numbers in the hundreds place? They are not. So are either one of these numbers going to be affected specifically? No. So I can actually write 67 down, but I'm adding 100 to that. Let's show that. Here's 100. All right, and now I see that I have 167, 100, 6 tens, 7. Now, this one is going to be a little trickier, right? Because this is going to involve some carrying, which is a really, really, really important idea for them, okay? So here we have 9 tens and 9 ones. All right. Now remember that question I asked up here. Which one is this part of? It's part of the ones place. Which one is part of here, the ones place? I would actually, in this particular example, say, okay, so it's going to affect this particular number, right? So let's show that on the abacus. And then I would demonstrate, I'm silly with my kids. I'm like, oh no, I have 10 in the ones. We can't have 10 ones there, right? So we have to trade. So I'm going to trade. I'm going to go ahead and do that. 10 ones for 110 on your mark, get set, trade. Okay, so how many do I have in my ones column? I have 0. And then I guide them over here. I'm like, oh no, we have 10 tens. We can't have 10 tens in the tens column. When we have 10 tens, that has to be traded, right? So we're going to trade 10 tens for 100. On your mark, get set, trade. All right. So what is the answer of 99 plus 1 is, what's my answer? 100. Okay, there's so many different ways you can approach this, but I do like the method that we're doing here because it's really digging deep into the place value idea. When your child struggles with this, it means they're struggling with the idea of place value, and we really need to put our heads down and really work on the place value idea, which might mean taking more than 1, 2, or 3 days on a lesson. Couple things that we need to do. One, see how when we add different numbers, how it's affecting the numbers that were provided. But also, we are also seeing how it is being affected when we have 10 in one place value. We want to see that carry. One of the questions we often get is, why do we go to the thousands? Because as you can see, the bottom number is the thousands. Why do we go that high? Because we do not see the pattern of trading until we see 3 or more. Patterns are understood and seen if we have 3 or more in one column. Well, if we only go to the hundreds, we are not seeing 3 or more. So the pattern is lost. It becomes just a process. Once we get to the thousands, we're like, okay, 10 in one place value, it moves to the next place value. 10 in this place value, moves to the next place value. 10 in this place value, moves to the next place value. Now we see the pattern. Anyway, I hope that helps. Let me know if you have any other questions. Take care. Bye-bye.